Greetings, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on ITIL Essentials, where we will attempt to enhance your IT service management with this 1 hour webinar. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have you all here today. If you have not done so already, please log into this chat area right over here so you can participate and get involved in today's webinar. My name is Raymond Lacoste. If you know who I am, awesome. If you don't know who I am, well, I'm an instructor here at Stormwind Studios. I've been teaching and instructing for many, many years from now. I've lost fingers and toes to count, and I'm just really excited here to be able to share my knowledge and experience with each and every single one of you today. So, what are we going to do today? We are going to give you the opportunity to get a grasp on what ITIL really is, because most people just really don't know what ITIL really is. And as a result, it's just a 4-letter word for them that they lump together with all their other favorite 4-letter words that are not work safe. And, well, we can't do that anymore. ITIL really is something important that we need to consider for our environments. So we'll explore some key ITIL practices today. I'd love to explore all 34 of them with you, but we really just don't have the time in an hour to do so. But we'll talk about a few of them and really give you an understanding of how you can get started with ITIL, so that way there you can ensure that you start providing the quality and streamlined processes and procedures that you need. And then lastly, I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about a few key ITIL practices that I really encourage you to take the time to get to know a lot more, and how you can start applying these practices into your organization, so that way there you can start taking advantage of everything that ITIL has to offer you. All right, so with that in mind, folks, let's begin this adventure by first talking about what IT service management is. So ITIL itself is about IT service management. So IT service management, according to Axios and PeopleCert, who are the powers behind ITIL today, is the implementation and management of quality IT services that meet the needs of the business. IT service management is performed by IT service providers through an appropriate mix of people, processes, and information technology. All right, so what does this mean? All right, so this means that IT service management is really a concept, right? It's a concept that you can adopt and you can adapt to meet your needs. So that way there, you have the opportunity to maximize your business value through information technology. And so through the efficient and effective IT service management that you will gain through ITIL, you will have the opportunity to deliver, meaning provide value in the form of services, but also in the end obtain and receive value from those IT services that you are providing. So when it comes to IT service management, we're dealing with something that is going to have to work across the whole life cycle of your services. And each and every single one of your services are going to have to be treated in a very special way in order for you to accomplish the value that you are looking for out of those particular IT services. So you are going to have to ensure you have the right strategy, the right design, the right transition, the right live operational environment for your services. But more importantly, you're going to have to make sure you're constantly trying to improve. And that is one of the driving forces behind ITIL and why it is one of the most successful IT service management approaches, is because we are constantly looking for ways to improve. Nothing is ever perfect, and we always have to strive to make things a little bit better each and every single day when we provide our IT services, so that way the value constantly increases, the value constantly grows. So over time, your IT service management approach is going to be made up of what? Multitude of practices and processes and procedures and functions and principles and a whole lot more that ultimately in the end enable the value needed by those IT services. However, IT service management is more than just these things, all right? It is really a new mindset. That's what it is. And this is one of the challenges that most people and organizations face when it comes to IT service management and ITIL. It's really a cultural mindset today. And it's not just about IT, properly managing IT services. It's not just about IT understanding ITIL. It's about everyone understanding the part they play, regardless of their roles, regardless of their responsibilities in the company. Because when everyone shares the same cultural mindset, that is when we will be able to maximize the value of those IT services we provide, and in the end, achieve the desired outcomes for our businesses and our customers' businesses as well. And lastly, one of the things to always keep in mind about IT service management and ITIL is that we are not replacing anything that already exists in our environment with IT service management and ITIL. See, when it comes to IT service management and ITIL, we are incorporating principles and practices from various management approaches that already exist. For example, like lean manufacturing, organizational change management, systems analysis, risk management, right? These are things that many of us already have, and ITIL is not trying to replace that, right? ITIL is here to coexist with your already existing practices, processes, procedures, functions, principles, or frameworks that you already have in your environment. So it's used in addition to, not as a replacement for what you already have, folks. All right, so what exactly is ITIL? So ITIL itself is the most widely adopted guidance that exists in the world today for IT service management. It's something that you will adopt. It's something that you will adapt to meet your organization's requirements for the delivery of efficient and effective IT services. Now, the biggest companies in the world today have been using ITIL for generations. It's not going anywhere. So if you just recently learned about this four-letter word of ITIL, and you have started to lump it together with your other favorite four-letter words that are not work safe, and you feel that it's just another fad that's going to disappear, and therefore it's not worth wasting your time, not worth wasting your money, not worth wasting your energy on, okay, you need to change your view about that. Right? ITIL's been around for more than 30 years. It's now in its fourth iteration. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't really have to explain any of these companies to any of you. These are companies you are familiar with. Right? These are companies that work with ITIL. Right? A framework, a methodology of best practices, of guidance, right? It's not software. It's not hardware. Right? What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with approaches so you can be more efficient. You can be more effective. Now, obviously, there's tools and everything else out there that you can utilize, that you can incorporate into your environment that are going to help you do everything that you need to do. But in the end, right, this is about guiding you in the right direction. Right? So many of these companies here, by adopting ITIL, they've been able to standardize their processes, improve service delivery and support, increase revenue, reduce costs, improve the performance of their employees. That's a big deal, right? When you can improve the performance of your employees, I don't know, like they get to do twice the amount of work in the same amount of time with half the amount of stress. I mean, if you could go to work every day and do twice what you do in the same amount of time with less stress, I mean, everybody would sign up for that. So through proper, efficient, effective service delivery, you have an opportunity to do that. Not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, right? But you have the opportunity to do that by finding ways to better your own employees within your company through the IT services that you provide. And ultimately, in the end, increase customer satisfaction. So why do you want to care about, or why should you care about adopting and adapting ITIL? Well, first, we have this structured framework, all right? A structured framework, folks, that helps ensure IT services are aligned with your business goals and strategies. That's number one, right? We all have business goals. We all have business strategies. ITIL is going to help you align the purpose of those IT services with your business goals and strategies, meaning you're not going to be doing things that are non-valuable to the business goals and strategies. You're going to be providing IT services that are going to enhance the business's goals and strategy. So help you support growth of the business, adapt to market changes, meet customer expectations, all through making sure you're supporting the business objectives more. So ITIL is about tying together IT and business nowadays. Now, some of you have old ITIL experience, okay? ITIL V1, ITIL V2, ITIL V3. Things have changed, all right? So if you only have ITIL V3 or earlier and you haven't dove in ITIL V4 yet, things have changed significantly from V3 to V4 now. Absolutely. Because we now are really focused on more than just the delivery of a service. It's more than that, and we'll get to that soon. Right? Another reason why you should care is that with these ITIL best practices, you are going to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of your service management, leading to higher quality IT services, ultimately, in the end, reducing downtime. If you find yourself constantly putting out IT forest fires, wouldn't it be great if you could now take all those forest fires that require a lot of work and a lot of attention, and instead of having forest fires, you have campfires? That would be a lot better, right? Because campfires are easier to put out than forest fires. So having the opportunity to change how things arrive at you, how things happen to you, and how you can respond to those, ITIL can help you along with that as well. Right? And you're also going to end up with a more consistent service delivery as well. So in the end, this translates to what? It translates to higher customer satisfaction. And there's no denying that in today's marketplace, customer satisfaction is key. It doesn't matter whether you're a fast food restaurant, doesn't matter whether you are a clothing store. What is key? Customer satisfaction. You can have great products, but if you have horrible customer satisfaction, right, things just don't go well for you. Same thing's true with IT nowadays. IT is a service, an end-to-end service, and it's about customer satisfaction. Customers are satisfied. They are more efficient. They are more effective. They are able to do what they need to do. And what do they need to do every day? Achieve their business outcomes. So you're trying to provide service to them that allow them to achieve their business outcomes. Right? And a third reason here you should care about ITIL is it helps you streamline things like your processes, helps you eliminate redundancies. It helps you to enable or enables you to manage your resources more efficiently, more effectively. Right? So cost savings come along with this. So there's a lot more reasons than just that when it comes to why you should adopt ITIL. But, we can't really talk about anything today without linking it to cybersecurity in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to read this list to you, but in the end, ITIL relates to security, quite well, because we have this framework, and this framework allows us to standardize and integrate security practices into every aspect of IT service management. So in the end, it's ultimately going to provide us with a consistent approach to risk management, incident response, continual improvement of our security measures. And this is critical to make sure that we can protect ourselves from all those different cyber threats that exist today. So, what is the ITIL framework? Well, here it is. You're looking at it. This is our ITIL framework. We just saw it earlier, but what is it? Right? It's our framework, a model, as they define it, called the service value system, that has various components, various activities, that ultimately in the end help you do what? Facilitate value creation. What are the components? Continual improvement, guiding principles, governance, practices. And in the middle here, the service value chain. And the reason why it's designed this way is because these tiers influence each other and they influence every tier above. And then these two tiers influence each other and influence what's above. So we have this bottom-up approach of influence until we get inside. And when we get inside that service value chain component, this is where we have activities. Activities that are required by you to effectively manage your products and your services. So planning, engaging, designing and transition, obtaining and building, delivering and supporting, and improving. Of what? Your products and your services, folks. Your products and your services. And with these activities, what do you get to do with them? You get to interconnect them together in any way, shape, or form you need to accomplish your objectives of delivering those IT services. Whether it's the creation of them, the delivery of them, the continued improvement of them, the supporting of them, whatever it is. You have an infinite number now of sequenced variants that you can create. And we call these things value streams. So in a certain circumstance, you might follow these activities in a certain way. In a different circumstance, you follow them a different way. If this happens, do this. If that happens, do that. Right? So yes, it's going to require documentation. One of the most popular and famous things that we all love to do. Document, document, document. But in the end, right, it allows us to have those repeatable, efficient, and effective ways that we can manage each and every single one of our products and services throughout their entire life cycle. So there's a question or a statement and a question. We have ITIL methodology implemented in our framework. How would it help me if you're on the service desk? Well, here's the deal. You are one of the most important parts of IT service management if you're on the service desk. You are one of the most important critical parts of ITIL. So knowing what ITIL is and the role you play in ITIL is the most important thing. The service desk is pretty much the first point of contact for IT service management. And you are responsible for incident management. You're responsible for service request management. And those two right there are so critical to the success of any service that exists. And so if you are on the service desk, professional on using the service desk practice, or on a service desk, as we often say it too, because we call it the service desk, but it's a practice in itself. Thank you very much. You have a very important role in this overall IT service management approach that we call ITIL. Absolutely. You are extremely important for this. Now, ITIL has evolved significantly, I said, over the years. And it used to only be about the delivery of services. Oh, let's make sure our services do this. Let's make sure our services do that. Let's make sure we're meeting this uptime, that, and this and that. And great, yay, everything's working. Again, that only lasted for so long. Because now it's about more than just the service. It's about the value the service creates. It's about providing end-to-end value through the delivery of those services. Requires a shift in focus now. Because if that service is not producing the value that is needed for the business to meet its outcomes, its objectives, right, or the users to meet their outcomes and objectives, it is not of value. It is not worth it. So if you just break this up now into the services you provide for your different departments, are you providing the best possible service you can to that department, to those users, so they are as efficient and effective as they can possibly be day in and day out? Are you able to make them do twice the amount of work in the same amount of time with half the amount of stress? Now, that is not an official motto of ITIL, okay? That is one of my mottos to help drive the point through. We as IT providers have the opportunity to do this. And if we can drive the growth of the human element in the organization, that drives the growth of the overall business. If salespeople can do their job better through IT, think about the benefits of that. If support can do their jobs better through IT, think of the benefits of that. If HR, if finance, et cetera, whatever departments you have, if they can become faster, more efficient, more effective through the use of IT, just think about how the future of that business will evolve because of IT. IT is about driving business growth today. It's no longer a cost center. Let that sink in for a moment. It's about relationships now. That's right. As IT professionals, you must have a relationship with everybody you're providing a service to. And the relationships are going to vary depending on who's who, what's what, and different things like that, right? And the level of value that you need in all those different cases. Right. Oh, yeah. As somebody said, it's no longer a cost center, but not everyone knows that yet. No, but that's just why we do this. It's why we bring in ITIL. It's why we slowly, over years, this is not a day thing or a week thing or a month thing. It's a year thing. And it takes a long time to drive the cultural shift that is needed with ITIL in an organization. But once it's there, it can be infectious and it can be very, very powerful. So what does this mean? Well, let's think about opportunity and demand right now. What is that? That's the input to our service value system. It triggers a service value system. The opportunity, the demand, it could be what? Some options, some possibilities, some needs, some desire of our customers, our users, our stakeholders. For example, it could be to add value to an existing service. It could be to provide a new service and therefore new value. And anytime these opportunities and demands arise, how can we take advantage of them and ensure that in the end, those customers, those users, those stakeholders are getting the value that they need, the value that they are looking for? And what is value? Well, value is classified or defined, I should say, as the perceived benefit, usefulness, and importance of something. Well, okay, who decides the benefit, usefulness, and importance of something, folks? Say, chat in. Who defines that? Is it you, the service provider? Customers. It's the stakeholders. That's who. It's the customers, it's the stakeholders. Perceived benefit, usefulness, and importance when it comes from the customers, comes from the stakeholders. Now, I'm not saying they are right. It's not what I'm saying. It's about you understanding what value means to them and working with them to co-create that value. In the beginning, they might not understand truly what value is or truly what they desire or need or want, but you work with them, you co-create value, you understand them. So that way there in the end, you are providing them a level of IT service that allows them to do exactly what they need to do as efficiently and effectively as they possibly can, day in and day out. That is value to them. But wait, value could be different, right? To many different people. And what does that mean? Well, for some people, that value might be revenue. When you think about the CEO of a company, they are a stakeholder in your IT service. Why? Because they want you to provide the best possible IT services at the cheapest possible price and ensure that everybody is efficient and effective as possible to increase revenue and keep costs down, right? So revenue, expenses, profit, that could be value to one person. But value to another person might just be having as minimal stress as possible day in and day out to do their job with the IT services you are providing. The ability to get work done might be another one. Loyalty could be value. What else? It could be anything from Even some people, increased responsibility could be of what is value to them, right? It really doesn't matter what value is. What matters is you understand what value is and you're able to work with them to give them that value. Right? So when you think about what I'm talking about right now, right? You can apply this to any company in the entire world outside of IT. Right? You can go to Starbucks if you want to right now. Okay? And what is value there? So let me ask you all of this. I'm just going to pick on Starbucks right now. Everybody chat in. Yes or no? Do you deem Starbucks to be valuable to you? Yes or no? I've been asking this question since 2019 when I started teaching ITIL V4 edition. All right. I never really asked it in ITIL V3, but I do ask it in ITIL V4. And it's amazing because in 2019, the yeses always outweighed the nos. But nowadays, the nos always outweigh the yeses. That's interesting. That's it. 4 years now. And the nos are outweighing the yeses in that question. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Right. Now, here's the reason why I asked this question. Okay, for all of you who said yes, you have different reasons. Different reasons for what value is. Just like for all you no's, you have different reasons why it's no. So take it back to the IT service management. What are the reasons? What is value? And what are the reasons behind those values? That's the only way you are going to have the opportunity to co-create value together with your stakeholders, your users, your customers. Back in the day, we had no problem doing this with external customers. Why? Because they were paying us money. External customers paying you money. You do everything you possibly can to give them the value we want, work with them. Okay, but now it's not just about external. It's about everyone you are providing a service to, because the internal users are just as important as the external ones that are paying money. And why is that? Because the internal users are the ones doing the work that can drive that forward as well. So it's about treating everyone the exact same way, with the same level of importance, inside, outside the organization, creating value. And if you're only providing a service based on your perception as an IT provider, or a few people's perceptions, you're missing the opportunity, and it's going to fail over time. So through these components, through these activities, you're going to be able to what? Efficiently and effectively take opportunity, demand, and turn it into value daily, day in, day out, nonstop, because that's what you're doing. Everyone relies on you every single day, so they can do their job, so they have a sense of purpose, so they can meet their targets, so they can have a job. Think about that through IT. It's incredible when you think about it that way nowadays. Yeah, we are a service provider of IT services for everyone else's success. Let's treat it that way. So we are going to have practices. We are going to have practices. That is a huge part of IT service management. That is a huge part of ITIL. What is a practice? A practice is a set of organizational resources designed for performing work or accomplishing an objective. What is a resource? Okay, a resource is something you own or have access to. So people, information, technology, value streams, processes, suppliers, partners, et cetera, list goes on forever. Okay, those are all things you own or have access to. An organization is what? Well, an organization is going to be a group of users, as an example, that work together to accomplish a very specific mission, vision, goal, objective. So it could be a department, a subgroup of a department, an entire company. In the world of ITIL, the term organization is very, very broad, very, very general, meaning that you have the opportunity to use it to define whether it's a department, a subset of a department, your whole company, and you can have organizations within organizations. But the key here is for you to realize that it's all about what? It's all about having practices that are made up of a multitude of resources associated with a very specific organization that's going to help them do what they need to do efficiently and effectively day in and day out to complete what it is they want to complete. So for those of you on the service desk is a practice as part of ITIL. And you are implementing the service desk practice as well as the incident management practice and this service request management practice. Right? So think about an IT service provider. By yourself, you need what? Practices to efficiently and effectively do what you need to do day in and day out. So how many practices exist? Drum roll, please. Here's the list. Memorize it all. There'll be a pop quiz sent to you tomorrow, and I expect everybody to hand it in no later than Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. No, just kidding. Just kidding. So, look at this list, folks. I just want everybody right now chat in at least one or two of the practices you are using, please. And what you're going to see, a lot of you are using what you see here, whether you even know it's ITIL or not. And yes, some of my jokes are absolutely horrible. All right. Anyone on the list here? What do you have as ITIL practices? All right. Asset management, service level management, excellent. Risk management, continual improvement, service design, risk management, project management, incident management. I can't see any that we're not using. Exactly. Right? So there are 34 practices, as you can see here. Does it count if they're done poorly? Of course. Of course. And that is so great that you recognize that they are done poorly. Why? Because that means you recognize the need for improvement. And when you recognize the need for improvement, you have the opportunity to make improvements. And when you make improvements, you add value to the services that you are delivering. And when you add value to the services that you are delivering, you are doing exactly what ITIL is hoping that you are doing. That's right. When you recognize that something is poor and you fix it, or you want to fix it and you go ahead and fix it, you are doing what ITIL is, IT service management. So when you're fixing your practices, your processes, your procedures, the way you do things, that's all part of this. All part of this. But it starts with recognizing where your deficiencies are so you can add the value you need. Exactly. Sean says sometimes you only have to make improvements on how you do something and it's going to get noticed. And that is a huge, big win. Absolutely. That adds value, sometimes the way you do things. Now, some practices are absolutely considered foundational in all industries and are very impactful to all companies that exist. So if you're just starting out in ITIL and you're trying to get a better grasp on it, some of the things you might want to keep in mind are things like incident management. Why? Because you are going to run into issues. You are going to run into incidents. And incident management is going to help you restore normal service operation as quickly as possible. Right? And typically, well, not typically, an incident always has an underlying problem behind it. So problem management is about focusing on identifying and managing the root cause of those incidents, which we call problems, and dealing with them. You are going to have to make changes all the time. Changes. And so change enablement. Now, here's the funny thing. Many of you call it change management, okay? So here's the deal. Change management was the name in 2019. Then they changed it very quickly to change control. And then they changed it a year and a half later to change enablement based on feedback. So it's kind of ironic that the one practice that is all about change has had its name changed that many times in 4 years. But you're dealing with changes. So this is about managing changes in a controlled and efficient manner, reducing risk, reducing impact when it comes to your changes. What else do I have on the list here that really, pays dividends to people who implement them? Service request management, right? So something like service request management is all about handling these predefined user-initiated service requests that you have set up so that your users can get what they need in a timely manner just by asking for it. And then we have our automated approval processes and they can get what they need when it's all said and done. We have service level management, which is about managing the level of our service. Where did it go? Right there. And it's about managing the level of a service, not from the services point of view, but it's from how the service provides what the business needs. And that's a big change from previous editions of ITIL. It's about keeping an eye on business level measurements and metrics that the service is providing. So if you have a service, but it's not providing a business outcome, then it's not really all that good of a service nowadays. We have continual improvement. It's about always improving the efficiency and effect of everything we're doing. So this is the one practice that's really going to affect everything you do, because you're always trying to continue to improve no matter what. Continue improving your processes, your procedures, your principles, your methods and methodologies, and more importantly, all of these practices about improving them. IT asset management. You got to keep track of your assets. If you don't know what assets you have, it's hard to deliver a service day in and day out. And in the service desk, again, one of the most important parts of ITIL and IT service management, that first point of contact, that primary communication, whether it's via email or phone or anything between the provider and its users, crucial for what? Ensuring the users receive appropriate help in a timely manner. That is so important. And you're going to be responsible for things like incident management and service request management as well. And let's not forget about things like security. Can't do anything today without security. Oh, and every other practice must abide by information security management, meaning what is outlined here has to apply to everything. And therefore, you can't do any other practice unless it's in alignment with what is there in information security management. And then we have our risk management. Risk management, there it is right there. We are dealing with identifying, assessing, controlling risk, which is a crucial component in the governance and management of any of our organizations. So, all right, so why this list? Why this list? Well, I've created this list here just to show you that these practices have a direct impact on the overall quality of your service. You know, you want to make successful changes. You want to deal with any issues that arise. You want to solve any problems that happen. You want to keep track of all those assets. You want to be able to communicate, respond, deal with things in a timely manner, and so on and so forth. In addition to that improvement in overall quality of your service, you've got your security, you've got your risks that goes along with that, and ensuring that you truly understand all your risks. And ultimately, in the end, you know, you are improving customer satisfaction when it's all said and done. All said and done. So this is, you know, a really good list. So for those of you just starting out, a great list. Pick and choose things like incident management, problem management, asset management. Start small and slowly grow. There's no way you can do all of these at the same time. Start small, slowly grow. And for those of you who already have a lot of these in place, find your deficiencies, fix your deficiencies, give yourself the opportunity to provide better services day in and day out. Now we can easily argue here and come up with a list. Well, no, this is Raymond, this in my environment's more important than this. You don't even have the one I'm using that's really important for us. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe we'll create another webinar another day where we'll just, have a really in-depth discussion about, what we should and should not do, or who has a better ITIL approach than another. All right, I want to dive deeper on a few of these though, so that way there you can see the power that they provide to you. And we're going to start off with incident management, because if you don't have a solid, sound incident management practice, you are really missing out. Because incident management is about what? It is about minimizing the negative impact of incidents by restoring normal service operation as quickly as possible. Right? Pay attention to what that says. It says restoring normal service operation as quickly as possible, because I'm going to come back to that. So what is an incident? An incident is any unplanned interruption to a service or the reduction in the quality of a service. So for example, the internet goes down, no one has access to cloud-based resources, right? We have an incident on our hands. Switch magically reconfigures itself overnight so no one can log into the network when they arrive at work. That's an incident on our hands. Those are both unplanned interruptions. Okay, the voice over IP network is choppy. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Right? That is a reduction in the quality of the service. It takes typically 3 minutes to download a file when it now takes 15 seconds to download, or I had that reverse. It now takes 3 minutes to download a file where it used to take 15 seconds on that Wi-Fi network. And so again, that's a reduction in the quality of the service. Service is still working, but the quality has been significantly reduced. So in all these examples, whether it's an unplanned interruption or reduction in the quality of the service, right, we want to minimize the negative impact of incidents by restoring normal service operation as quickly as possible. So I want to give you one example here that many of you should be familiar with. Here we go. How many of you, do you know what blue screen of death is? Do you know what blue screen of death is? Yes or no? Chat in. How many of you are now like starting to have flashbacks, nightmares, deja vus? Okay, good. All right, so here's the deal. I'm not going to talk about what the blue screen is and stuff like that and so on and so forth for the sake of time. But here's the deal. What is the first thing after taking your screenshots, doing this, doing that, collecting? What are you going to do to attempt to restore normal service operation as quickly as possible? What are you going to do? Yes. Turn it off and turn it back on again. Reboot. Restart. Okay. Folks, that's an example of incident management. That's an example of incident management. Did we actually solve the problem? No, the underlying problem is still there somewhere, isn't it? Right? It's there somewhere. Okay, it could be a multitude of different things, but that doesn't matter in incident management. We don't care about solving problems. Oh, not in incident management. Restore normal service operation as quickly as possible. That's all that matters. To solve the problem, there's a totally different practice separate from this. See, your goal with incident management is to get the user up and operational as fast as possible, regardless of whether the problem's solved or not. Now, not all incidents you can resolve without solving a problem. So for those incidents that can't be resolved without solving the problem, you got to escalate it to the right teams, right group, so they can solve the problem as quickly and as efficiently as they possibly can, so then the incident gets resolved. But anytime you can resolve an incident without having to solve a problem, you want to take advantage of that and deal with the problem after the fact, behind the scenes. Why? Because this is about the user's experience. This is about the user's experience. That's why they're two separate things. Also, in previous editions of ITIL, right, incident management was all about the user being negatively affected, meaning that an incident only exists if the user's negatively affected. If the user's not negatively affected, you don't have an incident on your hands. Okay, that has changed here as well, because we really are focused on normal service now. Normal service now. Meaning what? Meaning if you have a primary server and a backup server, and the primary server goes down, the users are not affected, right? Because they are using the backup server. You still have an incident on your hands because that is not normal service operation. It's changed. Normal is what has been deemed as normal, and you as an IT professional, anytime anything deviates from normal, that is an incident you got to deal with. Gabe, that is not entirely true. When you just address the incident without solving the problem, here's the deal. They don't know the problem's not been solved. You see, that's the point. That's the point. That's why they're separate. You solve the problem. You restore normal service operation, incidents resolved. They don't know there's still a problem. They don't have to know there's a problem because the problem is for the subject matter experts behind the scenes to deal with. That's the difference. For all the end user knows, everything's back to normal. They don't have to know anything otherwise. Right? And that is possible. Jeff, yeah, Band-Aid first, surgery later. When you can take advantage of that, you want to do it. Why? Because a user's more than happy to get back what they are missing. The internet's broken, right? Get it back, get them on the internet. They don't have to know that you're still putting out a fire behind the scenes. They're back to work. They're happy. They're browsing Netflix, whatever it is they're doing. That's what incident management's about. And that gives you a quick win anytime you can do that. The quicker you can restore normal service operations as quickly as possible, the better off you are. Right? So how can you possibly do this though? So here are a few key things to keep in mind. Now, this is just a small list, and the list would be extensive in the real world. But you definitely want to implement a central point of contact for all IT related issues and requests. That's the service desk. That's the service desk. So the service desk is going to have to be equipped with the tools and trained personnel to log, categorize, prioritize, and manage the resolution of incidents. And if they can't do it, how do they escalate it? So that way there, we can deal with those incidents as quickly as possible, whether we're solving the problem or not. Right? You want to make sure you have the right IT service management software to automate and streamline the incident management process. Right? Because these tools are going to help you in categorizing your incidents, assigning them to the appropriate teams, tracking progress, maintaining records for future analysis. And you'll want to make sure that you are integrating all of this with other practices like problem management and change management. Because typically you have an incident, if you have to solve a problem, well, then problem management gets involved. If you're solving a problem, then typically change enablement gets involved. I said management, I meant enablement. So change enablement gets involved behind the scenes. You want a holistic approach to IC service management. These practices should never be siloed. You should be thinking about how they interact together with each other at all times. You want to have clear communication channels, clear protocols. Everybody needs to know, how do you report incidents? Whether it's a critical incident or just something tiny, doesn't matter. An incident's an incident. And all users care differently about all different types of incidents. So it's important that you give them the opportunity to communicate fast, efficiently, and effectively with you, and then you can take care of it for them as quickly as possible. And then provide regular updates. If you can't fix it right away, let them know. If you're putting out other fires and other things, like have a way to quickly notify them about the status of that incident. And give them an approximate resolution time so they know you actually care. And then conduct training, not only of the IT staff, but of end users. So that way their end users know the right processes and procedures, because incident management starts with the end user doing the right thing, and the right thing is reporting it properly. So you as IT professionals can do what you need to do. How do you report it? How do you deal with it? How do you take care of it? So there's no question in their mind. When something arises, they know immediately what to do. That way there, you can help them. And then finally, you always have to go back and do post-incident reviews, continual improvement. Could we have done that better? Could we have communicated better? Could we have handled that incident better? Oh geez, we solved the problem when we could have actually just resolved the incident and solved the problem later on today. That's what it boils down to, right? So that's the thing. How can we make it so that way there we are giving the users the best experience possible when it comes to that? And so problem management is about, what? Reducing the likelihood and impact of an incident by identifying the actual and potential cause of incidents and managing workarounds and known errors. So what's a problem? A problem is a cause or potential cause of prior, current, or future incidents. So as you can see here, these are related to each other. And so if I have a problem, right, I may or may not have an incident. But if I have an incident, I 100% have a problem on my hands. So with incident management, blue screen of death, reboot the server. What does that mean? It means now the server is what? The server is back up and running. Still have a problem, right? Because I never really solved the problem. I just put in a temporary solution. Reboot it. It works fine. Let's say a blue screen's 8 days from now and we still haven't taken a look at the problem. Okay, well, you got to reboot the server again. This rebooting is called a workaround. This is perfectly valid. Right, when it makes sense to have a workaround in place because you haven't been able to solve the problem yet, go with the workaround for incident management. So the workarounds are designed here that go along with incident management. So keep rebooting that server until we solve the problem. Right, and at some point in time, yes, it could be blue screening every 5 minutes. Well, at that point, that's like a disaster, right? We don't want to be having that situation. So we better solve the problem before that ever happens. But solving the problem is about what? Really digging in, analyzing, figuring it out. And let's say we realized it had to do with RAM. Okay, now we're going to replace the RAM. We're going to make a change to the server, replace the RAM, and the blue screen should never happen again. So that's what problem management can do for us. And when we couple that together with incident management, you can see the power that you have when dealing fast, quickly with incidents, and then dealing with those problems. So if you can resolve an incident without solving a problem, you want to do so. But the only way you're going to do this is having the well-defined steps and procedures for both of these. But in those times when you can't resolve the incident, then you're going to go ahead and solve the problem, which ultimately resolves the incident for you when it's all said and done. All right, so definitely you want to be as proactive as you can with problem management. Any type of data analytics and monitoring tools you have that can identify trends and patterns is going to be really, really good for you. All right, when it comes to the team members you have, you definitely want to have teams with people from all areas of the environment, areas of the organization. So, your networking teams, your software teams, your hardware teams, and different aspects of the business. Because in the end, when you work together to investigate, diagnose, and develop solutions for complex problems, you are going to give yourself the opportunity to have a holistic view of that problem and the solutions for that service. Because when you're not working in a holistic fashion and you're not getting as many people involved as you possibly can, then you are going to jeopardize the value of a service because you may not be aware of certain dependencies. And so you do not want to jeopardize the value of a service when you're solving a problem because you don't understand the dependencies that go along with it. We want to closely integrate problem management with incident management and change enablement. Because, as we saw, information from problem management can help with incident management. And then when we have solutions to problems, we got to throw in change enablement as well, along with that, to make sure that we go through the right change procedures. All right. So keeping a knowledge base here is going to be critical because it's going to help us in a lot of different areas and departments of our environment. And then again, regular reviews, continuous improvement, because there's always better ways to do things. And if we're not constantly looking for better ways to do things, then we are jeopardizing the value of any IT service that we are providing and any type of support that we are providing for those IT services. Now, one of our favorite practices is change enablement or change management, for those of you still using the old name. Why? Because it requires us to follow some very strict controls and procedures and analysis and authorization. And we just really want to implement the change, right? And we got to dot all our I's, cross all our T's, jump through all those hoops. But, this is more important than ever because our ultimate goal, folks, is to maximize the number of successful IT changes. We want to ensure that our risks have been properly assessed. We want to make sure that we don't proceed with changes unless they've been authorized. We want to manage a change schedule. Why? We don't want any conflict of resources. We don't want to introduce a change that adds undue risk, which decreases our value. So it's really important that we follow our change procedures, folks, and balance the risk while maximizing throughput of all our changes. So a change is what? The addition, modification, or removal of anything that could have a direct or indirect effect on any one of our services. So anything, any small thing, large thing, anything, it doesn't matter, folks. Going forward, you don't cut corners with changes. Follow all of your various change procedures. Why? Because you want to ensure that standard changes are being handled properly, like resetting passwords, installing Office 365 on PCs, or onboarding new users, following those procedures to a T. You want to make sure under normal changes like replacing an old server with a new one, or changing ISPs, or adding a new access point to the wireless network, or fixing a problem, you are doing so following your formal authorized change management processes. So that way there you can minimize the potential impact of that particular change if anything goes wrong. And then emergency changes, expediting your changes. Hard drive just failed in the server. You need to replace that hard drive, restore from backup, emergency. Right now, an emergency change doesn't give you the permission to do something and ask for forgiveness later. No, 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 no. All right. What it means is you simply get to do what you need to do now with minimal approval, minimal assessment, but then you still have to do everything you would do under a normal change after the fact. So by having just these three, many companies have more than just these three different types of changes, but having these three different types of changes well documented, well laid out is a really, really great starting point for you. And for many companies, that's all they really need, but it's going to give you the opportunity to make sure that you maximize the number of changes you make in your organization. So document everything: submission, reviews, approval, implementation, post-implementation reviews. You're going to have to make sure you have the right people on a board, like a change advisory board or a change authority, so that way they can assess those changes and make sure that they actually make sense and will produce the value that it's intended to produce and not negatively affect what is already happening. You'll want to automate as much as you possibly can here. You won't have the right tracking tools so you can manage changes, maintain your audit trails, ensure that you have the appropriate approvals before you proceed with anything, and integrate this with all of your ITIL practices. So that way there you get all the different insights that you need, and you are making sure that as you make your changes, you are doing so in the proper way. So that way there you are not decreasing the value of the services you are providing. And in the end, it always comes down, again, training, communication, making sure everybody involved understands the processes, the procedures, and everything that goes along with it. So folks, I'm looking at the time and we are pretty much nearing the end of our webinar. So I would love to stay here and go through all the practices and really, get you all hyped up about these practices and how they could really benefit your organization. But I've just talked about 3 of them: incident management, problem management, change management. Those 3 right there, very, very critical to the success of any IT service you have, because your IT services are not going to be perfect. They are going to have problems. They are going to have incidents, and they're going to require changes. Like, starting out with these 3 are huge. Implementing a service desk, implementing service request management, implementing service level management, right? As you go through these slowly and surely, right? Making sure that eventually in the end, you are going to be as successful as you possibly can be. ITIL is not a sprint. It is a marathon that never ends. Always remember that, folks. But oh my gosh, something came into my inbox just the other day, and I want to share it with all of you here today. ITIL, through Axelos and PeopleCert, now have an accredited list of tool vendors. I often ask people asking me, hey, can you recommend any tools? No, I can't, because of the fact that there's nothing officially accredited. Now, I'm still not recommending any of these tools, but now I have the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Axelos and PeopleCert back these particular tools. So let me go to the website right now to show you. And I will give it to all of you in the chat area right now. This just was released at the beginning of this year. And when I saw it, a big smile came to my face. And what I want to show you right now is that out of all these tools, they show you the number of practices that they will help you with. So even if we go down to the one down here, that is only 5 practices that it'll help you out with, folks. You'll see it shows you incident management, service request management, problem management, change enablement. Right? We covered 3 of those, and I mentioned the 4th one right before we came to this discussion. So all of them include these at a minimum. And so you can just see the importance and how fundamental these practices I discussed with you today are critical to any organization's success. And there's some other tools here, that 19 practices. You'll see that none of them cover all 34. None of them. I think the most is 19 right now out of any of these tools. But it's a start for any one of you, and a way for you to have the opportunity to really just, start picking off practices one by one as each and every single day goes by for you. And again, remember, it is a marathon. That's what it is for each and every single one of you. Now, what is some good resources to look at on ITIL and management practices? So the best resources you have right now is Axelos themselves, if you just want to start reading things, because they are responsible for everything ITIL related. So Axelos's website would be www.axelos.com. All right. And on Axelos's website, you can sign up, create an account, and they have information about all the different certifications that they provide. You'll see that they're not just about ITIL. They're about many other best practices that you can see here. But they have a resource hub, and you got to create an account for the resource hub. And once you're into that resource hub, they have different white papers and a lot of other nuggets of information and case studies that you can utilize to help you with seeing how ITIL can benefit a multitude of different organizations, even yourself, throughout the world. So Axelos.com is a really great place to go. All right. So folks, I want to go ahead and wrap up this webinar right now. But if you need to stick around and ask a few questions after, that's perfectly fine. But for those of you who need to leave, I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining us here in today's webinar. We really do appreciate this. If you are already a member of the Stormwind family, thank you very much. We really do appreciate that, and continue taking advantage of everything we have to offer. We want to continue being part of your knowledge adventure. But for those of you who have never, ever been part of the Stormwind family, please take this opportunity to get access to the multitude of options that we have for you, from the ever-growing library of videos from IT to cybersecurity to AI to project management to ITIL and a whole lot more that is constantly refreshed based on the industry refreshing what they have at a more rapid pace than they ever have before. And depending on the class, depending on the certification, you might have some labs that go along with that, practice exams that go along with that, and even potentially additional study resources that go along with that, all depending on what it is. We want to help you be part of your value-adding journey through increasing your knowledge. So don't delay, don't waste time. This is the perfect opportunity to join our family. I encourage you to not click on this link because it's not clickable in the video, but over there in the chat area, clickable. Click on that link, reach out to us so we can hook you up with what you need. If you're not interested in ITIL, but you like what you saw, reach out to us and we will hook you up with what you need. And if you want to reach out to Mike directly, there's Mike's contact information, folks. All right. And for all of you who have said thank you, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And so that'll wrap up our webinar, but if you have a few questions, we'll stick around for a few moments and we'll cover those live. But other than that, thanks again, folks.